picture's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here I am with another book haul. I seem to have not quite let go of the expectation of doing a monthly book haul. I gave up monthly wrap-ups and only do monthly TBRs when the spirit moves me. I still feel a little strange that this is only a partial March book haul. It's enough to fill a video, I think, and I have this much more, plus 2 or 3 more books coming in the mail. So there'll be a part 2, but I don't, so this is the book haul. More later. Enough! I have bought way too many books, and this is roughly chronological up until my book shopping adventures with Ange. Right up until then, and then the second book haul will be all of those, plus what's come in since. More or less. First off, I have a tome, Min Jin Lee's debut novel, Free Food for Min Jin Lee. No, Free Food for Millionaires. And this is a chunkster, 550 pages or so. I didn't know this until right now. It's signed. Oh my god. This is a gift from Chris Wolak. We've traded books back and forth, and this is what I got for the trade. And I didn't peruse the book enough, obviously, to notice that it's signed. So I am absolutely delighted. I loved her Pachinko, and I have already arranged to do a buddy read of this with Andrea Beyond the Pages, probably in 2020. This is about a Korean-American woman, daughter of Korean immigrants. Thank you so much, Chris. I didn't know it was signed. Oh my god! Oh, when was this originally published? 2007. Whew, I need a drink after that. And this is the Barbara Pym cookbook, compiled by her sister Hilary Pym and Honor Wyatt. I never did figure out who Honor Wyatt was. But anyway, I gave this as a gift to Ange when she visited, and this I also got myself a copy. So, for example, souffle fish pie, chicken with tarragon, poulet Minerva. Apparently, Barbara Pym was a real cook, and food is an important part of many of her novels. So, now I can try some more of them myself. I couldn't stop myself from getting the hard copy of One Part Woman by Permal Mergen. This was one of my last reads of 2018. I read it just between Christmas and New Year, something like that, and absolutely loved it. 5-star read. And it's just got such a gorgeous cover, and I think it might be a book that I would want to reread, as well as read more by him. And here's the opening paragraph. The Portia tree was dense with foliage. If you looked closely, you could see the yellow, trumpet-like flowers with their flared mouths and the drooping, fading red ones with their inviting smiles. Portia flowers always grow more beautiful as they fade. Callie leapt up and plucked one. He never could resist the desire to possess what attracted him. The leaves came ripped, but the flower was intact. Settling down on the cot, he smelled the flower. It had a mild fragrance, even when held close to the nose. He felt he should have left it on the tree. The sight of the flower on the tree was more beautiful than its scent. Okay, there's some really interesting resonance with the story of this novel from that opening passage, so very interesting. All Among the Barley by Melissa Harrison. This is a fairly new book. I have the ebook of her previous... What is this? A novel? Yes, and I have her earlier novel, At Hawthorne Time. It's either on Scribd or I bought it and it's on my Kindle or my Apple Books, and I haven't gotten to it yet, but I still couldn't stop myself from... Simon Savage is always mildly berating himself for buying multiple copies of an author's works before he's ever tried them, and I'm starting to do the same, at least with Melissa Harrison. I think it was Mercedes talking about it. Like maybe I'm not sure if I'm remembering correctly. I think maybe both she and Eric talked about expecting it to be on the women's prize list, and I'm not following the prizes as close as the top tier booktubers, but I don't think it did. I don't think it made it onto the prize list, long list. But anyway, I am intrigued by her rural, nature-focused fiction, even though I haven't read any. And this one is set in 1933 on a farm in the autumn, and a woman comes to a young man's farm doing some kind of anthropology or folklore studies of rural traditions and beliefs, and things happen after that. Presumably some of them, or maybe all of them, happen among the barley. Opening paragraph of the prologue. Last night I lay awake again, remembering the day the hunt ran me down in Hulver Wood, when I was just a girl. It was December, as it is now, and I had ventured out into the icy afternoon to cut some green boughs for the house. None of the others minded much about decorations, but I loved the way the firelight flickered on the glossy leaves of holly I always hung above the parlor hearth. Yes, I did get some stuff from the women's long list. I don't want to feed the hype about prize lists or talk about them in a reaction way to the list, but it's silly for me to pretend otherwise than that I do get interested in what books are on it and what of those books I might want to read. So I have two more in a row here that are from the Women's Prize long list, and this one is Valeria Luiselli's first novel, I believe, Lost Children Archive. And I've heard very mixed reviews of it. I am so excited to try it. I haven't, even though I have her... Oh, I guess this is her second novel. Was that first one a novel? The Story of My Teeth was a novel or a novella. I haven't gotten to it yet. This one intrigued me. Whether I end up liking it or not, it just sounded like it could be fantastic. I have actually stopped watching reviews on BookTube or elsewhere until I read it, but it intrigues me. It is very much about immigration and the border between America and Mexico and the children. It's not, as far as I understand it, it doesn't come right up to the atrocity that we are going to be talking about in 500 years of all the shit that Trump has perpetrated, the stealing, kidnapping children from desperate refugees at the border is the one thing that he should be locked up for forever. I don't think it covers that, but it's still about similar injustices, and sounds like it could be absolutely amazing. Opening paragraph, entitled Departure. Mouths open to the sun, they sleep. Boy and girl, foreheads pearled with sweat, cheeks red and streaked white with dry spit. They occupy the entire space in the back of the car, spread out, limbs offering, heavy and placid. From the co-pilot seat, I glance back to check on them every so often, then turn around again to study the map. We advance in the slow lava of traffic toward the city limits, across the GW Bridge, and merge onto the interstate. An airplane passes above us and leaves a straight long scar on the palette of the cloudless sky. Behind the wheel, my husband adjusts his hat, dries his forehead with the back of his hand. All right, Lost Children Archive. I have a buddy read lined up with Britta in the coming months. This one also intrigued me, this little novel, Bottled Goods by Sophie van Leeuwen. This was originally written in English. Van Leeuwen was born in southeastern Romania and now lives in Germany, but she wrote this in English. The protagonist's brother-in-law defects to the west from Romania during the communist era of Romania, and then so she and her husband are tormented by the Secret Service. And their careers, they lose their jobs, and all of that takes a real toll on their marriage. And that's all I know. That's all I need to know. I don't even like to read the full description on the back before I dive in, and I'm looking forward to doing just that. And I couldn't not buy this. I think it was only $15 for a brand new hardcover at Kinokuniya Books. Lanny by Max Porter. So much buzz about this. Not buzz. I believe that I can differentiate between buzz, which turns me right off, and just genuine wowed reviews and responses to this book. I wasn't interested enough to pick up his poetry novella. Grief is the thing with feathers. It sounded like a very nice idea, but I don't read poetry. I don't read fiction in verse. No, 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 no. But this, a little bit experimental. Some of it goes off the page and into the margin, but there's not many pages like this. There's only a few. Set in a village not far from London. It might even be a ghost story. Just scanning the synopsis, I don't want to read it in its entirety. I hope it's not too ghosty or I'll get turned off, because what I've heard about it intrigues me. So I hope there's not too many ghosts in it. I'm getting picky in my old age. No verse, no italics, no ghosts, no curses. Opening paragraph. Dead Papa Toothwort wakes from his standing nap an acre wide, and scrapes off dream dregs of bitumen glistening thick with liquid globs of litter. He lies down to hear hymns of the earth. There are none, so he hums. Then he shrinks, cuts himself a mouth with a rusted ring pull, and sucks up a wet skin of acid-rich mulch and fruity detritivores. He splits and wobbles, divides and resembles, coughs up a plastic pot and a petrified condom, briefly pauses as a smashed fiberglass bath, stumbles and rips off the mask, feels his face and finds it made of long-buried tannic acid bottles. Victorian rubbish. Well, I don't know what that's all about, and that does sound like some kind of a ghosty thing, but I am completely besotted by the writing. So, Lanny, I'm coming for you soon. These next two are Blame It On Lanus. I don't know if that's her real name or not. I don't think I've ever heard her call herself by her own name, but Books by Lanus is one of my new discoveries. She's been on BookTube for years, and she talked about 2 African novels recently that piqued my interest. She did a full review, I think it was 20 minutes or maybe longer, a passionate review of this Ngugi wa Thiong'o novel, a chunkster if ever there was one, Wizard of the Crow. And I don't even want to try to talk about it. I just want you to go pause this video and go watch her video review of this novel. It's probably one of my favorite BookTube videos I've ever seen. I learned so much about Watiango from her review, and even though this seems like an intimidating satirical novel satirizing African politics, Kenyan politics, which is not something I know enough about to maybe appreciate all of the satire, and I'm not a big fan of satire, but to listen to her tell it, my life is not complete until I read this novel. So, his debut novel, Weep Not Child, is one of my favorite books from Africa, and it's just made me deeply fascinated by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and listening to her review intensified that. This novel was originally written in Ngugi's native tongue, Kikuyu, or more commonly known as Kikuyu, and then he translated into English. He used to write, Lanus talks about this in fascinating detail on her review. He wrote his first several books in English, and then for political reasons that are just fascinating to learn about, he has written his later works in his native Kikuyu and then translated them himself into English. So this is the English version, obviously. Opening sentence. There were many theories about the strange illness of the second ruler of the Free Republic of Abaruria, but the most frequent on people's lips were 5. I want to keep reading now. In another video, Lanus talked about this Nigerian writer, who she said it actually predates, if I'm remembering what she said correctly, predates Chinua Achebe, or was a contemporary of, and apparently is just as good, certainly well worth a read. So I bought it immediately after watching her video, and this is called Jaguar Nana by Cyprian Ekwensi. And Cyprian Ekwensi, born in Nigeria in 1921, his first novel, People of the City, published in 1954. And Jaguar Nana is his most famous book, published in 1961. He died in 2007, and it is about a woman, this is her, Jaguar Nana, who lives a hedonistic life in Lagos. Just take a moment and let that cover sink in, will you? Opening paragraph. Jaguar had just had a cold bath, and in the manner of African women, she sat on a low stool with a mirror propped between her bare knees, gazing at her wet hair. Only one cloth, a flowered cotton print, concealed her nakedness, and she had wound it over her breasts and under her armpits. Her arms and shoulders were bare, and she sat with the cloth bunched between her thighs, so that the mirror bit into the skin between her knees. Everybody and their dog is talking about Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss, and I just couldn't not see what all the fuss was about. I think this is on the women's prize list. I'm pretty sure it is. And I got a surprise. Unfortunately, it wasn't a surprise that I happened upon live on camera like the Min Jin Lee, but this I ordered from Book Depository, and they sent me a signed book. Has that ever happened to you? It's never happened to me. It had a little sticker, signed copy. There you go. Everybody, I think, knows what this is about. Sylvie is a teenager living with her parents in a hut in Northumberland, and they are enacting, due to his father's obsession, an exercise in experimental archaeology. Oh, I'm just scanning, literally scanning, the opening paragraph, sight unseen, and I think that we need to have a listen to this. They bring her out. Not blindfolded, but eyes widened to the last sky, the last light. The last cold bites her fingers and her face. The stones, not the last stones, bruise her bare feet. She stumbles. They hold her up. No need to be rough. Everyone knows what is coming. From deep inside her body, from the cord in her spine and the wide bloodways under the ribs, from the emptiness of her womb and the rising of her chest, she shakes. A body in fear. They lead the fearful body over the turf and along the track, her bare feet numb to most of the pain of rock and sharp rushes. Chanting rises, the drums sound slow, unsyncopated with the last panic of her heart. Others follow, wrapped against the cold, dark figures processing into the dusk. Ah! I want to keep reading. How about you? Jeepers. Where Reasons End, Yi and Lee's new novel. I just love the way that her books from Hamish Hamilton are put together. They're just gorgeous little books. I probably found out about this on Eric's channel, but I have this weird imagining that I first found out about somewhere else and I had already ordered it before I heard Eric rave about it, but I know he's a big fan of her writing. Her collection of essays, Dear Friend, From My Life, I Write to You in Your Life, also published in this same type of edition, was Eric's top read of 2017, or one of them, and I bought it because of that. Still haven't gotten to it, but I'm more likely to start with this one. I've heard nothing but superlatives about it. She is a Chinese writer, I guess, would we say Chinese-American writer? How long has she been living in America? She writes in English. Wikipedia calls her a Chinese-American writer. She's 46 years old. She's been living in America since 1996. This is, I think, like all of her stuff, from what I gather, this is a very heavy book about a woman whose teenage son commits suicide. Looking forward to giving it a try. Another Persephone book. This is called Vain Shadows by Jane Hervey. And I don't know anything about it, other than that I've done several buddy reads with my dear friend Leah from Calgary, and most of them have been books that I owned or that I suggested, and I said, Leah, that's not fair. You give me a short list of books that you're interested in reading, and I will be happy to buy them to buddy read them with you, and this was one of those. Jane Hervey is a pseudonym for Naomi Blanche Thoburn McGaw. I would change my name too, wouldn't you? Who was born in 1920 in Sussex. She married Franklin Wilder. This book was written in the early 1950s but remained unpublished until 1963. And even then, some members of her family were offended by the obvious portrayal of themselves. Beyond that, I don't know what it's about. Don't need to. Let's have a look at the... Okay, it's the portrait of a family funeral and its repercussions. Oh my! Leah, you know how to pick them. It's her only published novel. Oh, this sounds fabulous, Leah. Can we start it tomorrow? The opening line is dialogue. Madam, nurse asked me to tell you that the colonel passed away peacefully in his sleep at 2:30 this morning. Okay, well, this sounds really good. I have one so far from the Booker is it now called the Booker International Prize long list? The Remainder by Alia Trabuco Zeran. This is a beautiful book. The pages are heavy. It's really tightly bound. I love how it feels in my hand. Now, who is the author? Translated by Sophie Hughes. It's a woman from Chile. She was born in 1983. She's very young. This is her debut novel. It's about picking up the pieces after, I'm not sure if it's historical or dystopian, war, revolution, carnage in Chile. That's all I need to know. I've heard very mixed reviews. Oh, what should I do? The first chapter is one sentence, and it's absolutely fascinating. I'm just going to cut it off after a comma, because I don't want to take the time to read you the full 2 pages, but it's gripping. So I'm just going to stop, and you're going to see on the text that it ends with a comma with ... because it goes on and on. Off and on. 1 week there, the next nowhere to be seen. That's how my dead began. Out of control. Every other Sunday, then 2 in a row. Catching me unawares in the strangest of places, lying at bus stops, on curbs, in parks, hanging from bridges and traffic lights, floating down the Mapocho. They were scattered all over Santiago, those Sunday stiffs, weekly or bi-monthly corpses, which I totted up methodically. And the tally rose like foamy scum, like rage and lava it rose, till I twigged that adding them up was really the problem, because it makes no sense for the number to rise, when we all know that the dead fall. They blame us. They drag us down. Whew. Like I say, that goes on for another page. I am intrigued as all get out. And the last 3 books I won't talk as much about. These were gifts from Lindy and her friend Kathy, and there's a video where I talk about them, the discussion video with Lindy and Kathy a little bit. So I won't spend a lot of time, especially now that I see how much time I've been talking, but I'll just show them to you and we'll see if there's an opening page or opening line or something to share. Lindy gave me this novel by an Edmonton, Canada writer, Tim Bowling's The Heavy Bear. She talked quite a bit about it. It's about a man named Tim Bowling hanging out in his native city of Edmonton, Alberta. He's got one personality called Delmore Schwartz and another one called Buster Keaton, and the 3 of them have an interesting conversation. Originally published in 2017. First couple sentences of chapter 1. Buster Keaton first entered my life in October 1964, when I was 9 months old, 9 months out after the 9 months in. He arrived by train in the town of White Rock, BC, a few miles inland from the fishing town of Ladner, where I lay, all my senses on fire, my capacity for memory unknown. And Lindy also gave me Jeanette Winterson's novel, Light Housekeeping, published 2004. We talked quite a bit about this, and Jeanette Winterson is a well-known writer, so I won't say anything more other than let's have a look at the opening 2 lines. My mother called me Silver. I was born part precious metal, part pirate. Oh my. And Lindy's friend Kathy, my new friend Kathy, gave me this Canadian novel, hot off the press, Andrea Lexis' Days by Moonlight. And this is about a bereaved botanist on a road trip. Maybe that's all we need to know. And I shared the epigraph, and I love it. It's by W.S. Merwin. Didn't he just die? He just died after I made that video. He's probably one of my favorite poets. His poem, Your absence has gone through me like a needle through thread. Everything I do is stitched with its color. That's my favorite poem, the only one I've ever memorized. And this is a fragment of a poem. And it was all true in a way, only the way kept changing. That just sends chills down my spine. So I'm not even going to read the opening line. That will serve as the introduction, that epigraph. I'm doing the epigraph tag on this if I like it. All right, so that is my book haul. There will be another book haul coming fairly soon, perhaps, he says, non-committally. Thanks for watching.